Today we have a really great show regarding a rider who won 3 of the first 5 United States Speedway championships. He won the 1968 championship at the Whiteman Stadium, 1970 at Costa Mesa, and 72 at Costa Mesa. This guy was the rocket and he was fast. And his name is Rick Woods. How did Rick get into motorcycles? What age? And how did he get into like Speedway over at the Whiteman Stadium in 1968? How did all that happen with Rick? Because he became very famous. And what was the beginnings of Rick Woods?
Well, Rick was 10 years older than me. We lived in Huntington Beach, and I mentioned a guy that's in the icon section of the Hot Shoe Hall of Fame. His name is Mike Capolite. Well, Mike had a company called Bay Motorcycles, and he was a motorcycle repair shop, and he made the race bikes go fast, and it was in the very infancy of racing. They didn't really have any Trackmaster frames or anything like that in the early 60s. So we lived in Huntington, and my brother started hanging out down at the motorcycle shop, and he wound up getting a bike and going to El Toro Speedway. This is about 1964. And I used to tag along with him, and I was the kid in the grandstands that sold the cycle news, right? And I used to stomp on the soda cans, and I stomped on the soda cans, and they wrapped around my tennis shoes. So I would walk around, and I'd act like I had a hot shoe on, like a little dork, And so it started there, and this is El Toro Speedway. In about 64, 65, Wes Cooley was the promoter there. And Wes owned some old JAPs. Well, he brought those out, and he had my brother and Steve Scott and a few other guys jump on them and do exhibitions there. Then they started having a little class for them. About 1960, early 1968, Dude Criswell actually got a hold of it and put some professional races on at Whiteman Stadium. And that was the infancy. That was the start of the modern era of Speedway racing as we know it today. It was in existence for quite some time. It got, they ran midgets there, they ran all kinds of things there. And what happened was the property value became so much because this was right off the freeway in Orange County. This wasn't, and this is where all the $1 million homes are now. So the property became too valuable, and the property was sold off. But I don't think it was anything the promoter did during that time. I mean, motorcycle racing was growing at that time.
And your brother became the first Speedway champion in 1968 in a modern day era. Your brother was the first United States Speedway champion. That is so cool at Whiteman Stadium. What drove Rick, your brother, for success? Like, what made him so good, so young?
Well, he was a very good short tracker at the time. When he rode El Toro and the other tracks, he was the ACA #1 at the time. And then he went on to race Ascot, and he was actually the #1 novice in the nation at Ascot.
You would find Rick Woods on a flat track or TT track. He'd be racing, locked up handlebar to handlebar with all the legends. He was in El Toro at Ascot. He was just at all these races, and he was a young rider.
And then he moved up to the amateur level, and that was about the time that they started riding Speedway. Was right in those eras. About 66, he was the #1 novice at Ascot. 67, they started to transition a little bit of exhibition on Speedway bikes. And by 68, they had some real races going, and you could actually race. It just flourished when it opened at Whiteman. It went to Trojan, and you could make more money, and you could race close to home. Was what everybody was doing, and all the Class C guys were going, wow, I can race 4 or 5 nights a week and make more money and, not have to crash at 150 miles an hour, Yeah, they were riding them like a normal motorcycle. And when Rick won the first national, they were sitting down on the seat still. And about that time is when Ivan and Barry came over and schooled everybody and showed them how to really ride one correctly.
love Ivan Majors and Barry Briggs.
Absolutely.
I wish I had a brother who was the first Speedway champion in 1968. That would be really cool. So how did that influence your racing career, having this amazing brother?
Well, I mean, it obviously opened a lot of doors for me. I wasn't just some kid that wanted to race motorcycles. I was Rick's little brother. So it allowed me to have some really cool things. I mean, even the first junior speedway bike that was built, they didn't build it for me because I was just some kid that wanted to ride it. They built it for me because I was Rick's brother. I loved racing just as much as Rick did. And, it just turned into a deal. It opened a lot of doors for me. Having him around was a great experience. He's dearly missed right now, but it was a great time in life.
You were like a celebrity. When I was a little kid, I used to open the Cycle News and I would see Gene Woods all the time. And then I would open the motorcycle magazine. I'd see little Gene Woods all the time. There's Larry Huffman viewing you. And I'm like, oh.
Well, all that stuff in $1 will get you a soda,
When you're a little kid watching another little kid do that, and a lover of motorcycles, it's pretty cool. So a lot of people admired you, when you were a young kid. So that was cool.
I appreciate that. It was a fun time in life.
It's really an honor to have you on the show tonight, and because I have a lot of respect for you and your beloved brother Rick, rest in peace. And we love the Woods so much.
Well, thanks, Brian. We appreciate it. And it's, it was a great time. And it was great. We've established a lot of great friendships through racing over the years. And Speedway was great, and it was great to be involved in Speedway in the 70s and through the mid 80s when Speedway was at its peak. And it opened a lot of doors, met a lot of great people. It allowed me to go on to other things in my life that were, I'm still hooked to racing.